Hello guys, this is Tanari and you're watching World of Warcraft Lore Lesson 66, and today we will be talking about the Shattering. Events that happened after Wrath of the Lich King and before the Cataclysm as described by Christy Golden. Shortly after the death of the Lich King, Drekthar, Frostwolf general and a very powerful shaman, now old and fragile, is having a vision where the world of Azeroth is tearing apart. He told his caretaker, Palkar, to get him to Thrall immediately, but Palkar, aware of Drekthar's age and the fact he is growing senile, doesn't take him seriously, and the message never reaches Thrall. On the other side, Cairn, the leader of the Tauren, is sent to Northrend, Warsong Hold, in order to make sure that everybody except the skeleton crew returns home safely. Cairn, then, for the first time meets Garrosh. So far he has heard of his great achievements, but also that he has a hot head. The Kvaldir attack them, but Cairn, Garrosh, and the warriors successfully repel them. On the way back, a terrible storm appears and tosses the ship around and randomly disappears. An Alliance ship was blown into Horde waters by the same storm. Badly weakened and despite raising a white flag, Garrosh boards them and kills most of the soldiers. But not all, as he lets the captain and a few others go in Horde lifeboats with Horde rations, saying that he is both death and life to them. Once they return, they are greeted by a huge parade in Orgrimmar, although mainly orcs, Tauren trolls, as the Forsaken and Blood Elves were doing their own campaigns. Thrall gives Garrosh Gorehowl, his father's axe that had slain both Cenarius and Manaroth, and reminds him to use it wisely. Shortly after, Thrall is talking with Garrosh and Karn about how they choose to settle in Durotar because it was a harsh place that only orcs could tame, but now with these weird droughts it's getting harder to live in. Plus the Night Elves are keeping the Horde completely out of Ashenvale after the Wrathgate. Also, both sides are so exhausted from the Northrend War that a general truce has been called, even in Warsong Gulch in Arathi Basin and Alterac Valley. Garrosh says they should forget the negotiations and just go take what they need, but Cairn and Thrall decide to let Hamul Runetotem, the Archdruid of Thunder Bluff, speak to the Kaldor Druid to Druid, in order to negotiate. Garrosh storms out and shortly after runs into Magatha Grimtotem, the leader of the Grimtotem. Turns out the Grimtotems were the only Tauren tribe to never officially join the Horde, even though they were allowed to reside with the rest of the Tauren. After that, Cairn returns home to the peaceful lands of Mulgore. On the other side, Jaina attends a memorial service in Stormwind Cathedral for the people lost in the war against the Scourge. The number of Alliance who died is up to 50,000, but at least 20,000. The exact number was not given. 2 sentinels burst in to say that the Horde attacked an Ashenvale convoy and methodically butchered the bodies. Logosh takes over Varian and goes into a rage, but calms down later. His two halves never really became one. Anduin, who is 13 now, sees the whole thing. Varian and Jaina decide that Jaina should give him a hearthstone to Theramore so he can visit her whenever he wants. After that, Thrall, together with Eitrigg, meet Jaina in secret. Thrall says he cannot do everything Varian wants him to do about the treaty violation. He can apologize about the treaty being broken, but not for the violence, and he can't turn those responsible over to the Alliance. It would be too submissive of a gesture for the Horde and its Warchief to make. Jaina is upset, but still understands where he is coming from, and they both leave in disagreement. After that, Anduin talks to Varian. The death of Bolvar hit Anduin pretty hard, because Bolvar was his father until Varian had returned, and he thinks Bolvar is dead now. Varian decides to send Anduin to Ironforge to learn the way of the warrior under Magni, though Anduin is more into the Explorers League libraries. On the other side, an incident happened in Orgrimmar when a fire strikes and the elemental of fire doesn't respond to Thrall's commands, thus Thrall realizing that something is disturbing the elements. Before Thrall makes the fire stop, the fire has already done a lot of damage, and Thrall calls the goblin Gazlo in order to fix the damage. The price was still incredibly high, even though Gazlal lowered it due to the respect he has for the Horde. Then Thrall decides that he has to go to Nagrand and speak with his grandmother, Gaia, in order to learn how to help the elements. He then has to decide who to name Warchief in his absence, and through careful consideration he realizes that Garrosh is the best choice. Anduin arrives and settles into Ironforge. He trains to be a warrior every day under a woman named Erin, but never really enjoys it, although he and Erin begin to bond. He loves spending time in the Hall of Explorers and the Hall of Mysteries with High Priest Rohan. He really bonds with Magni as well. Then one day Magni summons him to show him a tablet from Ulduar, from the Earthen, 10,000 years old. Magni thinks that a tablet like this could be the key to understanding the elemental disturbance. Later on, there are crazy earthquakes. Ironforge takes some damage, but Keranos, a little town nestled among the mountain peaks of Dun Moreau, is nearly destroyed. Anduin demands to go there and help, and he does. Erin dies when Thunderbrew Distillery collapses, which hit Anduin hard. Magni tells Anduin that the tablet has rituals on it for becoming one with the earth have been translated, and he himself will carry them out. He also notices that Anduin really shined when helping rescue and heal others, plus how much High Priest Rohan has taken to him, and maybe Anduin has a different path before him, a priest. He gives him a mace called Fearbreaker, several hundred years old, and the weapon bonds to Anduin and glows with light. Anduin, Magni, and several others go to Old Ironforge to perform the ritual, but the tablet was literal and Magni has turned into diamonds. He heard all the voices of the earth before it happened, but screamed in horror before he was transformed. All the Alliance leaders send representatives to the funeral, plus a Tauren and Blood Elf from the Horde and some goblins. Thrall signs off as Warchief, but before he leaves, Cairn shows up and tears into him for making such a stupid choice, saying that the Thrall he knew would never have done this. Thrall stands by his decision because he knows there's no other option, and tells Cairn that it's his choice whether he wants to aid Garrosh or be stubborn. Then he leaves Orgrimmar. Thrall arrives in Nagrand, but Great Mother Gaia says she's too old to give him in-the-field training. Agra, her apprentice, will help him instead, even though they both start bickering at each other pretty much instantly. Agra keeps calling him Goel instead of that human slave name. Back in Ironforge, before Moradin or Brand can come back from wherever they are and take the throne, Moira, the daughter of Magni, shows up. She had once left him and never returned until now. She said that all the Griffins are sick and that the Deep Run tram is not working, and then arrested all the mages that can make portals to the outside. She keeps the city locked down with Anduin still in it. Meanwhile, Garrosh is rebuilding Orgrimmar after the fire, but it's different from before, more spiky and tougher looking. Cairn has been around Garrosh as an advisor, but leaves when it's clear Garrosh isn't listening to his advices. He sends Hamul off to meet with the Cenarian Circle in Ashenvale because Remulos, Keeper of the Grove, won't let an initial meeting take place in Moonglade because there is still a potential for violence. The Kaldarai and Taran meet up in Ashenvale, and the meeting opens well, and just before making peace the orcs attack and slaughter them all. They're working for Twilight's hammer, but no one ever figures this out. Hamul wakes up in a mass grave and manages to dig his way out and convince an owl to send a message to Cairn. Meanwhile, Garrosh is getting himself tattooed by the apprentice of the orc who tattooed his father, so that all can see he is not afraid of pain. Cairn shows up and starts arguing with Garrosh for the orc attack on the druids. Garrosh doesn't really know what's going on, but rolls with it, and all the tension between the two of them comes out. Cairn challenges to a Makgora, and Garrosh accepts but says it will be done the old way, the way that Thrall had stopped it, to the death. Cairn agrees gladly. They both get one weapon, blessed by one shaman, and no armor. Magatha offers to bless Gorhal, saying that not all Taurens stand against Garrosh. Cairn was destroying Garrosh in the ring, and Garrosh was surprised, but one small blow comes from him and strikes the Tauren dead due to Magatha poisoning the blade previously. That night, Magatha puts a plan into effect she's been planning for years. Every Tauren city from Sunrock Retreat down to Camp Moyak is seized by Grimtotem. The slaughter at Thunder Bluff is almost indiscriminate, although every powerful shaman, druid, and warrior is slain in their beds. Most of the Forsaken in the Pool of Vision support Magatha, or just don't care. A shaman assigned to attack Bloodhoof Village and kill Baine helps him escape instead. They escape to Taraho, but they can't go to Orgrimmar until they know if Garrosh was complicit with Magatha or not. Undercity is also full of orcs nowadays. Ultimately, their only choice is to go to Theramore and Jaina. On the other side, Anduin and Moira have an interesting conversation full of political barbs. Anduin accuses Moira of having a father who never accepted her for what she was, speaking from experience, of course. Moira drops down her guard and says that Daygran Thorison, her husband, gave her respect, not a mind control spell as Magni had presumed. But she also says that now she is in control of both the Dark Iron and Bronzebeard empires, making her an empress, and she's not letting Anduin go anywhere. Anduin decides he has to escape and uses a Hearthstone previously given to him by Jaina Proudmoore in order to teleport himself to Theramore. He stumbles upon Jaina and Baine. Drekthar turns lucid briefly when he hears that his visions have come true after all and Cairn is dead. His caretaker starts taking him seriously and immediately sends a missive to find Thrall. Thrall takes off Doomhammer and Black Plate to become an initiate again and has an incredible and moving vision quest with Agra. In it, he realizes that the elements have been present with him in all of life's experiences. He then goes to the Throne of the Elements to see Furies there. They wish him well but don't really know what to do about the totally different elements from a different plane that they've never met. Thrall does give a small stone from Azeroth to Gordog, the element of Earth, who tells him that the elements are frightened of being wounded and destroyed, and are lashing out. And the last time he knew elementals to feel this way, Draenor was about to break apart. Back in Orgrimmar, Atrigg helps Garrosh piece together how suspicious the duel was. Garrosh was too deep into the blood haze to notice himself. He realizes he has to silence suspicions before people start thinking he was involved. On the other side, Thunderbluff was already taken by Grimtotem. After the initial shock, Anduin and Baine actually start to get along a bit. Jaina gets word to Varian in secret that Anduin is okay. Talking over their respective problems, Baine eventually decides he cannot and should not attack Garrosh, because the Horde would be torn apart. He still doesn't know if Garrosh was in on the poisoning or not. Anduin gives Fearbreaker to Baine, and a blessing of light flows from him into Baine. Back in Thunder Bluff, Magatha was waiting for a letter from Garrosh in which she thought he would be giving her support, but instead Garrosh insulted her and accused her of taking a righteous kill and stripping him of his honor. In the meantime, Baine sends a representative to Gazlowe to buy some equipment for the attack, more specifically bomb, and Gazlowe actually lowers the price in respect for Karn, which is unusual for a goblin. They attack Thunder Bluff the only way possible, by Zeppelin. After a long battle, Baine takes Magatha prisoner. He crushes all of her totems, which he knows will make the elements reluctant to help her for a long while, and offers mercy to any Grimtotems who will accept it, and banishes the rest of them to Stone-Talon Mountains. He also says that if they ever plan anything against anyone, he is coming for them with full Bloodhoof vengeance. A terrible storm floods Theramore. Jaina and Anduin help to fight back the waters. Jaina says that Anduin has to return to Stormwind now, but she accidentally lets slip that Varian is leading an SI-7 to Deep Run tram to assassinate Moira and free the Ironforge. Anduin, pretty nobly, states that Moira may be a tyrant, but she is also the legitimate ruler of Ironforge and does not deserve death, but guidance. Jaina realizes that he's not a little kid anymore and ports him to Ironforge. He gets there just as Varian has his blade at Moira's throat. Anduin gives a good speech where he points out that killing Moira will only lead to chaos and more bloodshed. He actually remembers and reuses some things Baine told him about how destruction is easy, but construction is difficult and noble. Varian slowly agrees and comes up with the idea for the Council of Three Hammers. He says that Moira has been given a second chance, and she'll be under close supervision and not mess it up. Drekthar's message finally gets to Thrall, who realizes how much he might have messed up by going to Nagrand when the Horde went through this crisis. But Agra reminds him that what he has learned will allow him to save everything, and a Warchief should not have made any other decision. And she says she's coming with him. They get back to Thunder Bluff, where Thrall attends Cairn's funeral. He talks to Cairn himself, saying how much we will miss him. He calls him and the Tauren the spiritual center of the Horde. But he also realizes that, as much as he does not want it to be so, the right choice is to go into the Maelstrom itself. If you would like to learn more of the events described, you should buy the book The Shattering, Prelude to Cataclysm, by Christy Golden. Thanks for watching another World of Warcraft lore lesson. We hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll be coming back with more, so please don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, and give any feedback on what you think and what you would like to see next. Thank you.